What have you learned about
Mhm.
happiness over the years? And is happiness something that we can ultimately achieve, or is it something we have to keep working on?
There's a chapter in my book called Happiness is Overrated. I still stand by that statement. The irony with happiness is that the more you think about and worry about happiness, the more you remove it from yourself.
Mm.
It's almost like happiness happens when you're not worried about being happy. Ultimately, like every emotion, happiness it's a psychological feedback mechanism that we evolved to help us survive and procreate, right? So when you're happy, it generally means that you've succeeded in some way in achieving your needs, your basic wants and needs. And when you're not happy, it's because you're lacking some of your basic wants and needs. And I think when people try to kind of elevate happiness and put it on a pedestal and
Hmm.
try to make themselves be happy all the time, you're like missing the point. Happiness is not the cause of a good life. It's the side effect of living a good life. And
Mm.
living a good life requires you to sometimes struggle and become frustrated and deal with problems that you don't necessarily want to deal with at the moment. Like that's all part of it.
Yeah. And I know that you talk about purpose and meaning, and you actually have a really unique perspective about purpose and meaning. You don't think we should put it on a pedestal and we shouldn't
Yeah.
idolize our purpose and meaning. So I've been doing this podcast for many years, and I know like the last couple of years, especially like 2022-ish, everyone was like purpose.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
I mean, purpose is important, but I think the problem with purpose is that people go about it the wrong way. So I think they approach purpose as if it's like hiding under a rock somewhere. People are like, oh, I got to find my purpose. And then they like sign up for a yoga class thinking that purpose is magically going to appear in the yoga class. And I don't think purpose is not found. It's created through action that feels useful. And you can have useful action doing the most mundane stuff. You can have useful action doing the same stuff that you've done for 20 years. A lot of it is just simply how you choose to think about it and the value you choose to perceive in it. So I think purpose is something that's fostered and created through finding useful and meaningful reasons and motivations behind the things that you do. And you don't necessarily have to like go explore the world to find your purpose.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's actually right in front of you and you've just been neglecting it.
Over your 30s, you said that you had so much success. You kind of didn't know what to do with yourself after you reached some milestones. How did you navigate through that? And how did you decide what your purpose and mission was going to be over the next 10 years?
It's funny because I think I got the purpose question correct before Subtle Art, and I think that's part of why Subtle Art was so successful. So the mission, or like the mission that I decided on around that time in my career, was that the self-help industry kind of sucked, and I wanted to make it better, make it more realistic, make it more practical, and make it more appealing for more people. And I do think I widely succeeded at that over the 2010s. Looking at myself personally, I think I actually lost track of that
Mm.
because when you experience like kind of a meteoric rise like I did, the human mind is kind of, people are accustomed to things compounding gradually, right? It's like
Hmm.
this year you want your business to be 10% better than last year. And then next year you want it to be 10% better than it was this year. And it's like we've kind of, our expectation is that things just incrementally get better like that.
Hmm.
Well, whenever like something comes along and there's 1,000% improvement in like 6 months, it kind of breaks your brain. Like you don't really
Hmm.
know how to conceptualize that and what you should be doing. And so suddenly I found myself with like all these opportunities and invitations coming in that like were so surreal and not in my reality 6 months prior. And my default was kind of just to say yes to everything.
Mm.
It's like, screw it. This might be my 15 minutes. Like, cool. Let's go have dinner with a congressman. Why not? Right? Like, when is this ever going to happen again? So my de facto response was just yes, 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 yes. That's cool. And that it gave me a lot of great experiences and cool opportunities. And it also made a lot of money. But as anybody who's said yes to too many things knows, the consequence of that is that A, you get spread too thin, so you start doing a lot of things and none of them very well.
Mm-hmm.
You get burnt out because you're overdoing it, you're overexerting yourself. And then third, you kind of lose track of what matters to you, right? Because if everything is a yes, if the default is yes to everything, then you're not really prioritizing anything over anything else. And so after about 4 or 5 years, I started to feel the repercussions of all of that. I felt extremely burnt out. I became very unhealthy. I felt like I was no longer excellent at anything. I was good or above average at a lot of things. And I lost track of like what drove me, what motivated me. So my 30s, I think, was very much me just getting a lot of clarity on what I stand for, what I want to do with my life. Because when you're young, when you're in your 20s, you think about missions and purpose and like all these goals and dreams you have, right? And it's all very exciting, and it's all kind of this like, it's all in the future, right? It's all, I've got plenty of time. I'm going to work my ass off for years and decades and all this stuff. I think once you get to like your mid or late 30s, you start realizing how long and how difficult it is to accomplish one dream or goal. And you realize that like you really don't have enough bandwidth to do more than one or two more of those in your whole life. Like it's suddenly your mortality becomes a lot more real of like, okay, this is kind of like, I really just need to pick the one hill I'm willing to die on, because life is short, and that's all it's going to, that's all I'm going to have the energy and the mental power for. So I think my 30s was very much just getting a lot of clarity and focus. It's like, okay, I accomplished all these things. Like, what do I want to use this stuff for? Like, what is the point of all of this? What's the point of selling 20 million books? What's the point of having millions of readers? Like, what are we driving towards over the next 20 years? Because after that, I'm probably done. I'm on a beach somewhere, playing pickleball.
Yeah. Well, I know that you've done a lot of reflecting. You put out this 40 great life lessons in honor of your 40th birthday. So I thought we could do something fun, rapid style.
Sure.
I'll rattle off one of the insights or hindsights that you had in your 30s, and you could tell us about it. So, passion is not the cause of good work, but the effect.
Yeah. It's funny when you look at the psychological research on passion and enjoying your job, what they find is that people get causation backwards. So the assumption is like, well, if I just find what I love, then I'll get really good at that thing. But it's actually the other way around. People tend to fall in love with the thing they're really good at, or the thing they're really rewarded for. So it's actually what you should be looking for is, what do you have a talent for? What do you have a knack at? What do you find that people actually compliment you on or note that you're really good at? And then if you start focusing there, you'll start to fall in love with it. It's in a lot of ways, like humans are just we're very narcissistic. We want to be great at something, right? And so when we do find something we're good at, our psychology is kind of wired to start making us feel emotionally satisfied.
Yeah, I always tell my listeners to pay attention to like what you get compliments for, and then try to turn that into a business somehow.
Yeah.